Hey, the internet, y'all got us all the way up. We met that dude, Duke the Jeweler, the night before. We was gambling. The next day, dude followed us to the concert. When we left out the concert, we under the garage, dude went to his car by himself and walked down to the parking lot. That's when somebody tried to kill him.
He's the one that's tied to the dude that makes the loaded dice. Right? Check the play out. All entertainers, when you go to Houston, stay away from J. Prince Jr. The whole play going on. Here go the play right here.
Blood-stained dice clattered across that velvet table like a bad omen. Smiles flashed all around, but deep down, everybody knew only one man would leave with his life intact. Duke the Jeweler didn't die broke. Nah, he died dripping in ice, but surrounded by straight-up wolves. Now the whispers say there's blood on Mob Ty's hands, and the feds, they're circling like sharks. Duke wasn't robbed by no masked nobodies in a dark alley. He was executed. He took his last breath after leaving Boosie's dice game, surrounded by folks who hyped him up one minute, then might have been dropping secret signals the next. Those same faces are sweating heavy now with federal heat blazing down on them. And 50 Cent, oh, he's fanning the flames, leaking whispers, reposting receipts, and hinting at a setup way bigger than anybody imagined. It's messy, it's loud, and it's about to blow. And what makes this whole thing even more like a straight-up movie? Just 2 weeks before Takeoff was gunned down in eerily similar dice game drama, Duke was the one shutting down the table at J. Prince Jr.'s dice game. And when the wrong man starts winning too much, that's when the air gets heavy and everything spirals out of control. Lil Cam, all of them were there. And what started as quiet whispers in the streets is now turning into straight up war talk. But how did we even get here? Let's pull back for a second, because what looked like a chill, friendly dice game might have been a loaded setup from the jump. From the outside, Duke the Jeweler looked like he was living that dream life. A Chicago native, fully self-made, he built his empire from the dirt. No handouts, no shortcuts. He wasn't just pushing iced out chains to random SoundCloud rappers. Nah, Duke was creating exclusive pieces for big names, legit clientele, and stacking a solid rep in the jewelry game. He didn't slide into Houston just to party. He came strictly for business, for the bag. Word is Boosie personally called him down to discuss a custom masterpiece. So Duke packed up that $1 million Louis duffel stuffed with his finest design and pulled up thinking it was all love. But what he didn't see coming, that meeting was really his last goodbye. Now zoom in on that dice game, because according to leaked audio from Whack 100, yeah, straight from a street-connected source, this wasn't just some casual roll of the dice. They say J. Prince Jr. runs what's now being whispered about as a loaded dice ring.
Here, let's go there. He introduces the dice game. He got 3 right, who rotate the dice. Now, these dice is loaded. Tell me it's a Wolf, Big Caprice, and watch this, and Little Cam are the loaded dice rotators, right?
And here's the crazy part. At that table, it's always the same 3 dudes running the game. Lil Cam, Big Capri, and Wolf. This trio rotates the dice like it's some secret ritual, a silent code that only they know. And just like in any crooked setup, the house always wins, unless someone slips and messes up the rotation. Well, that night, somebody fumbled. According to Whack 100, Duke got handed the wrong dice, the ones that weren't meant for him. And guess what? Those dice were loaded. Duke started hitting back-to-back hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands in lightning speed. The energy in the room shifted instantly, because when someone cracks a rigged system wide open, the people who built it start to panic fast. Now let's talk real money moves. Insiders say Jay Prince Jr. allegedly pockets a slick 30% of every single dice night haul. So when Duke started draining stacks left and right, it wasn't just luck. It was a serious financial threat. And to make it worse, Duke's whole vibe that night was loud, confident, and pure flex. He was draped in diamonds, tossing stacks like it was nothing, filming every second for Instagram. Now here's where things start getting real eerie.
Called some dude tried to rob him. Some dudes tried to rob him. See some dudes that tried to rob me and walked off by himself. I had just met dude yesterday. Try to rob dude. Dude must ain't get up.
Both from flight Zach, we're number 2 for departure. Flight attendants, please bear the captain.
Just met.
If you pause the footage from that dice game and really watch the details, you'll catch Boosie making this soft little whistle. Nothing loud or obvious. But right after that, his nephew snaps his head and locks eyes straight at Duke. Then another man in a red hoodie lightly taps the nephew's arm like a secret signal passing through the room. And from that exact moment, the whole vibe shifts. 1 second, Duke's laughing, cracking jokes, tossing dice like it's all love. The next, it felt like the air got heavy, like there was a silent countdown ticking towards something nobody could stop. And just minutes later, Duke is gone, dead. That's not random, that's not paranoia, that's body language, because when you step into a room full of people who've already decided how your night ends, you can feel it in your soul. And if you still think this was just a normal dice game, ask yourself this. Why would a millionaire like Boosie bring a guest rocking over $1 million in jewelry into a room full of questionable faces without any kind of real security? Why didn't Jay Prince Jr., the man supposedly controlling the spot, have protection lined up for a known out-of-towner carrying that kind of shine? Let's rewind to the exact moment Duke stepped out of that dice game. He didn't roll out with security, no crew, no driver. Just him, solo, strolling through a dark Houston parking lot after being surrounded by millions in cash and ice all night. If that feels off to you, that's because it is. But here's where it goes from just suspicious to straight up sinister. Fast. Within minutes, gunshots echo through the night. Duke gets ambushed, hit, and fatally shot. But here's the part that makes no sense. In a normal setup or a robbery gone wrong, what's the first thing they snatch? The jewelry, the cash. But Duke was found with everything still on him. So tell me, what kind of robbery leaves behind 7-figure jewelry? He was still draped in the same $1 million pieces he wore to Boosie's concert just hours before his death. And then comes the real mic drop moment, that Louis Vuitton bag Duke carried everywhere, the one loaded with his unreleased one-of-a-kind jewelry designs, didn't just vanish into thin air. Nope, it showed up inside Boosie's house. Let that sink in for a second. Houston PD even confirmed it. Now, whether Duke handed Boosie the bag for safekeeping during the dice game, or Boosie ended up with it after the fact, that's the piece of the puzzle nobody wants to explain. We don't know the full story.
And invites him in. Act like he's covering for him, hanging out, everything is cool. Let's go here, let's go there.
But one thing's clear, the bag made it back to Boosie. Duke didn't. And Boosie's response, a shaky Instagram live from a plane, nervously saying he barely knew Duke and claiming Duke just walked off. But hold up, didn't you say Duke was supposed to design you a custom chain? How do you barely know a man you invited to a private dice game, sat next to while he flashed over $1 million in jewelry, then let him stroll to his car alone afterward? Something ain't lining up right. Then he kept talking, digging the hole even deeper. And let's be real, he didn't look like an innocent man speaking his truth. He looked pale, uneasy, worried, like someone holding back way more than he was saying. And if you thought that was bad, it gets even worse. The feds, already circling Boosie for other legal issues, decided Duke's case needed its own spotlight. They split it into a standalone federal investigation. No delays, no hiding it behind past charges.
He must have walked outside to the parking lot. We was in the garage. We heard the but it like they was far away in the parking lot. He must have went to his car or something, bro. Dude was finna make a piece for him too. Damn.
Just a laser-focused hunt for the truth about Duke's death. And when the feds move, they move smart. They tracked Duke's phone. And guess where his last phone ping was? Boosie's own recording studio. Now, unless Duke's phone magically got up and walked itself over there, someone from Boosie's circle took it, and they didn't even bother to be slick. That's what really got the feds heated. After that phone ping, they went deeper. They searched Duke's rental car forensically, and boom, they found fingerprints from Boosie's nephew and Boosie's cousin all over it. And just when you think this whole thing couldn't twist any darker, it does. A witness, someone who was just outside the building casually smoking, stepped forward. They said they saw Duke walking alone toward his car. Everything looked calm at first, but then, out of nowhere, Boosie's nephew slid out from the shadows like he'd been waiting. Duke, sensing that something was way off, allegedly swung first, tried to defend himself. He fought back, but he didn't even have a real chance. One quick motion, and Boosie's nephew allegedly pulled the trigger. Cold.
He said, what? There was a situation that occurred that a certain jeweler round and got past the dice on accident and was hitting on them for a couple hundred. They got irritated about that. I ain't gonna go too far into that story because, right, boom. The only way they could get their money back was however their money back. He said, but Lil Cam Wolf and Big Caprice are the three designated to say I'm up, I got the next, and they passed the dice to each other, but they loaded what they...
And here's the part that makes it clear this wasn't no simple robbery. They didn't even try to stage one. Why? Because it wasn't about stealing, it was about silencing, making sure Duke never talked. And then, instead of vanishing with the evidence, they kept the bag. That's not sloppy, that's straight arrogance. And you know who else caught on to all this? 50 Cent. He's been paying attention, dropping little hints, reposting the whispers, connecting the dots. It's not on paper, it's not official, but everybody in the game knows it's real. Artists, influencers, even pro athletes, they've all heard the same whispered warning. If you're moving through Houston and you don't check in with J. Prince Jr. and the Mob Ties Circle, you're playing with straight fire. But here's the dark twist. Nobody wants to say out loud. What happens when the same people you're checking in with are the ones setting you up? Let's be crystal clear. J. Prince Jr. was the host of that dice game. The same exact dice game Duke attended. The same host, the same setup, where Takeoff was later killed under almost identical circumstances.
I gotta do my research, see what Judah might have been down there shooting dice. But nevertheless, to all the entertainers, you know, Dukes of Hazzard was one of my favorite shows, right? I don't know if y'all watched it. I was thinking about Daisy Dukes for a reason. I don't know why I said that. You know, one might go with it, may not go with it, but I don't know. If the math is math, and let it math. But entertainers, beware. Oh, with J. Prince Jr.
And once Duke ended up dead, too, that whole check-in culture started feeling way less like protection and way more like a setup wrapped in a smile. Because if J. Prince Jr. really ran the city the way he claims, the way he flexes his power, then how come two men didn't make it out alive from dice games tied to his name? How does that even make sense? Even Whack 100, who usually stays quiet on heavy street stuff, couldn't hold his tongue. He spoke up, throwing fuel on the fire, saying way more people know the truth than they're admitting. And once Whack 100 dropped his bomb, the street started buzzing louder than ever. He hinted that there's more footage, more audio, more people who know exactly what went down that night. Word is, some insiders are already talking to the feds quietly, trying to save themselves before the hammer drops. Meanwhile, the internet detectives are piecing it together in real time. Slow motion clips of the dice game, background voices, even shadows on the walls are being analyzed frame by frame. And every new angle just makes it look worse for the Mob Ties Circle. But here's where it gets even messier. Rumor is Duke wasn't the only one who felt that dice game was off. Another guest, someone big in the industry, was ready to walk out too, but got convinced to stay. And now that person is laying low, not answering calls, staying silent, because maybe they saw too much.
When he talked about, let's go shoot some dice, because the loaded dice crew of 3, Lil Cam, Wolf, and Big Caprice. We know Lil Cam in there because I believe somehow, some way, he was caught up in the dice situation. Rest in peace, Takeoff. I don't know what's going on. But what I do know this, Jay Prince Jr. got a whole thing that when y'all come into town.
And you know who's loving every second of this chaos? 50 Cent. He keeps reposting cryptic captions like, it's always the ones closest to you, and check in with who, stirring the pot without saying names. And just when it felt like the storm couldn't get any heavier, the feds made their next quiet move. They started freezing accounts, pulling phone records, and grabbing surveillance from every angle around that building. Word is, they even tapped into private security cams from nearby businesses. And what they found? It doesn't match the story Mob Ty's been pushing. Behind closed doors, Boosie's team is panicking. People close to him are suddenly going ghost, deleting socials, changing numbers, laying super low. And you know what usually follows that? Somebody's about to fold under pressure. Because the feds don't just knock, they squeeze until somebody cracks. And here's the kicker. Rumor says Jay Prince Jr. hasn't been moving the same since. The man who used to show up everywhere with his chin high is now barely being seen in public. Some say he's hiding. Others say he's working the phone, trying to lock down favors to keep this whole thing from blowing wide open. Meanwhile, Duke's family, they're demanding answers and they're not backing down. They want justice and they're starting to lawyer up with some serious heavyweight attorneys. And when family mixes with federal pressure, it's only a matter of time before the cracks turn into a full-blown collapse. After the shooting, Whack 100 straight up called it a scam ring.
Hold on, bro. Didn't they say Fifth Ward earlier that day shooting dice?
Yep, that's a fact. That word been out, Whack. That word been out. We been out that memo.
And then, so they've been getting hit all day, and it got to the point at the thing, Quavo like, getting into dice.
He said Jay Prince Jr. has a whole playbook, inviting entertainers, playing the friendly host, getting them relaxed, and then leading them into a dice game where his people quietly surround them. It's a setup dressed up like hospitality. And now, word on the street says some artists are quietly backing away. Labels are pulling out of Houston events, promoters are canceling shows, and the city's starting to feel radioactive. Even 50 Cent can't resist airing it out. He's reposting clips, dropping not-so-subtle captions like, this is bigger than y'all think, and calling out the entire game. Some say he's playing with fire. Others think he's just the only one bold enough to say what everyone else is too scared to say. Meanwhile, insiders claim Boosie is in full-blown panic mode. The feds are pressing harder than ever, splitting Duke's case apart from his old gun charges and digging laser-focused into that night. They're reportedly looking into everything. Boosie's mansions, his financials, even his son's digital trail, pulling receipts left and right. But the real chaos, it might be coming from inside. Allegedly, Boosie's own girlfriend slipped up and told someone that Boosie ran back inside that night, looking shook, like he was clearly hiding something. And yet, he's still out here pretending he knew nothing about what went down. This is all Boosie keeps telling anyone who asks. He didn't know, he didn't see, he wasn't involved, but now people are wondering, if Boosie falls, who's he dragging down with him? Because Boosie doesn't move alone.
That's what this nigga Jay Prince Jr., boy, these niggas got all kind of shit going on down there. They say, he said the jeweler nigga got past the dice. He didn't even know the motherfuckers was loaded. He just think he hit. These niggas is mad as a motherfucker. Cause they like, nigga, how you pass this nigga the loaded dice on us?
Now, word on the street is that some artists are quietly distancing themselves. Labels pulling out of Houston events.
His nephew's tied up in this. His cousin's name is floating in the mix. And now his name is tangled directly with Jay Prince Jr., who's already under heavy pressure after Takeoff's death. The threads keep crossing, and all roads lead back to the same table. And just when you think it couldn't get more chaotic, it does. Finesse 2 times, the same artist Mob Ties once proudly backed is now switching sides and airing things out. 1 minute he's shouting out J. Prince Jr. in interviews. The next he's barely mentioning his name. It's obvious something flipped behind the scenes. At first the fallout was quiet. Finesse just stopped popping up around Jr. No more concerts together, no backstage hangs, no random cameos. Then the whispers started getting louder. Turns out the whole thing might have started over a woman. And not just any woman, Finesse's baby mama. A few months back, she and her mother allegedly lined him up, called the cops, got him locked back up for violating probation. That betrayal cracked something in the circle, and once the loyalty got questioned, the connection started breaking. And guess who swooped in to get Finesse out? None other than J. Prince Sr. himself. Behind the scenes, the OG made a few heavy calls, pulled some strings, and just like that, Finesse was back on the streets in under 2 weeks. But instead of showing loyalty or even gratitude, Finesse went right back to the same girl who lined him up in the first place. That's when Senior had enough. He jumped on Twitter and let it fly with his whole chest. I told the homie to stay the away from that woman if he loves his life. But the homie wouldn't listen to my words, even after I stepped in to get him out of prison. Y'all better be careful out here thinking these women got your best interests at heart. And just when you thought the drama ended there, it gets way messier. Rumors started bubbling that J. Prince Jr. might have gotten Finesse's girl pregnant behind his back. Now, is it confirmed? Nah. But the fact that people believe it and Finesse hasn't denied it tells you all you need to know about the vibe. And while some fans tried to brush it off as just more rap drama, others started connecting the dots. A pattern was forming. J. Prince Jr. stays at the center of chaos, beef with Takeoff's family, now whispers about his own people getting crossed. He's feuding with Boosie behind the scenes, and now Finesse is out here publicly spiraling. People are starting to ask the real question. How many bridges can you burn before the whole empire crumbles? Because here's the cold truth. When your entire reputation is built on silence, fear, and power plays, it only takes one person to flip. One artist, one friend, one witness, and the whole house of cards comes crashing down. So now the streets are buzzing with a deadly curiosity. Who's gonna speak first? Will it be Boosie, trying to save his own name before the feds close in? Or will Finesse finally stop hinting and just air out what really went down that night? And hovering over all of it is 50 Cent, who won't let this story die. His obsession with exposing mob ties is pushing everything to the edge. The question is, will J. Prince Jr. do what nobody ever thought he'd do? Will he break the code of silence, throw somebody under the bus, and save himself? Behind the scenes, federal agents are quietly combing through everything tied to Boosie. They're checking his entire estate portfolio, his Baton Rouge mansion, his Georgia land, even tracing every single dollar that's moved through his accounts. So now, Boosie isn't just being investigated, he's being surveilled around the clock. And don't forget, this isn't just about Boosie. J. Prince Jr. is right in the line of fire too. The artists are backing away, the labels are backing away. The city's starting to feel cursed. This ain't just rap beef anymore, this is Ryko energy. And here's the real ticking time bomb. Duke's killer might already be caught on camera. All it takes is one person to sell that footage to TMZ, to the feds, or whoever comes with the right price. And if that video ever sees the light of day, it's game over. The whole empire comes crashing down. No more whispers, no more guessing, just the cold, ugly truth on full display. So stay tuned, because this story, it's far from finished. Like, share, and subscribe, and see what's really going down in our hood next.